Good morning. Welcome to Composition 2, Lecture 1. Today we will be introducing Chapter 1 about languages and learning. The focus of this lecture and the couple of lectures that will precede this one is to write an essay or a composition about learning a second language. There are many topics that someone could write about concerning learning another language. So hopefully by the end of this chapter, you will have a good idea as to how to write a concise composition about a specific topic in this general idea about learning a second language. We would like to begin with preparing to write, and as you can see on page 4 of your textbook, let me just grab my book here. There are 4 photos of people seemingly having different occupations, different jobs. So you can see on the first picture to the left, upper left corner, you have a woman who is a airline representative, and the picture next to that on the upper right hand corner is a few businessmen, a few young businessmen, and on the lower left hand corner there is a student, a foreign student, supposedly an Asian student, who is speaking to what is supposed to be a European or a Western instructor or professor of some sort. In the lower right hand corner, you see a healthcare worker working in a clinic. Now, all of these people have interesting occupations, and they're doing interesting work. But the question to ask is, if these people knew another language, would it benefit them? Would it make their lives easier, their jobs easier? That's the question. That's the general question regarding these photos. So on page 5, you have a set of questions that kind of give you a lead or a guide, let's say, to think about this matter. So the first question posed here is, why might these people need to speak more than one language? So just think for yourself for a moment. Why would such people, such as the ones in the photos, would need to speak more than just one language? So I just gave you a brief answer where I wrote, they should learn another language because they are most likely to meet people who speak a language other than their own. So if you are an airline representative, you have people from many different parts of the world speaking many different languages. And it would help to know a language spoken by many. And by that we mean English. As an example, it could be French, it could be German, it could be Spanish, it could be Chinese. But nowadays, at this age, English is by far spoken by many as a second language or a foreign language. So it is expected that some or most people coming to this airline representative, coming up to this airline representative, would probably know some English at least. So the communication bit would be much easier. So there's this other question posed also, question number 2. What are some reasons to learn a second language? Just give me some reasons. I only gave you maybe one or two. A couple of reasons I think are important are to communicate with more people and get to know and understand another culture. So learning a second language would just give you that option to communicate more. If you were a person who knows only one language, okay, you have the option of communicating with people that speak that language and getting to know the culture of that one language. What if you know another language, a second language? You would communicate more with other people, with more people, and you would get to know another culture. What if you spoke 3 languages? That would be, communication would be much better and wider and broader, and your view of the world would be much, much more different, because you will be aware of many cultures. So that could be a reason. That could be 2 reasons, right? What you have to do is think about this on your own and try to provide answers of your own. But just think for a while before you answer. Question number 3. What are some ways to learn a second language? There are many ways to learn a second language. One could learn a language on his or her own, just by yourself. Or he or she could ask someone to teach him or her. You could ask someone to teach you that language. A proper way to learn a language, though, is to take classes in a school or institute. If you're really serious to learn a language, the best way is to go to a school or an institute to have this done properly. Now, I'd like you to move to page 7. I'd like you to move to page 7, where you have a reading passage with the title, Want to learn a language? Don't make it a Mount Everest. Want to learn a language? Don't make it a Mount Everest. Let's read it together. Now, we're going to take time reading it very, very slowly, and I'd like you to pay close attention. Let's begin. It is common to see and hear foreign languages every day in New York City. Riding with Creole-speaking cab drivers, reading menus written half in Chinese and half in Spanish, or making midnight purchases in Korean-owned delicatessens. Learning them, on the other hand, is another matter, and it always costs money. Finding a bargain in learning any language is rare, even though the Manhattan Yellow Pages alone list some 70 foreign language schools. Experts in the field of foreign language teaching say that if you want to become a polyglot, you should consider several things before you sign up for a language course. Motive. Why do you need to learn a foreign language? Being able to order a drink on the French island of Martinique is very different from doing business in Tokyo. Or, if all you want to know is how to find a telephone booth while walking near the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, a practical program in which you first learn to speak and later to read and write would do fine. In this age of global travel, it is increasingly likely that students have spent time or will spend time in the country of the language that they want to learn, said Anthony Nees, Associate Director of the Yale University Language Laboratory. This means that knowing how to ask for a hotel room or for directions and to understand the answer you receive is more important than being able to read a newspaper like Le Monde, or even knowing the blue perfect tense. But if real proficiency is your goal, from being able to conjugate verbs to read Madame Bovary in French, a university or an institute may be the best place for you. Method. What's the best way to learn a language? Language teaching programs and methods vary. One technique is called total immersion, or immersion. With total immersion, students in the classroom speak, listen, and read only the foreign language they are learning. And for some, total immersion is the closest thing to learn a language while living in the foreign country. Since most programs emphasize dialogue in the classroom, class size is crucial. If there are more than 15 students, individuals are likely to spend too much time silent, Mr. Neitz said. The experts, however, say smaller and more expensive classes are not necessarily better. For serious students who don't have a lot of time, private tutoring may be best. But groups work well for most people because they provide the opportunity to participate in games, skits, and conversation. Teacher. What makes a good teacher? When you consider a language class, you must, of course, consider the teacher. Learning a language from native speakers has its advantages, but being a native speaker is no guarantee that a person will be a good teacher, Mr. Neitz said. He added, by far the most important criterion is whether he or she is an enthusiastic teacher. Phyllis Ziegler is the director of the second language programs of the New York Public Schools Division of Bilingual Education, said that the non-native teacher may sometimes better understand the student's questions because he or she has also studied the target language. So, before inquiring about the authenticity of the teacher's accent, ask about educational experience and credentials. Fabio Gerli Carassi is the director of foreign languages at New York University's Schools of Continuing Education, said that the tanning booth approach to language doesn't work. He added, just sitting there 10 hours won't make you darker than 5. In other words, you do your homework. So, that was an article in the New York Times. It's quite a challenging article. It's not easy. But then again, it gives you an idea about why to learn a second language, and it talks about teachers, and it talks about methods of learning a second language. This article should be read by you very carefully and understood very well, so that you can be able to write a composition about this topic. So, it is very important for you to read this and fully understand it. Let's move on to the next slide. There were some vocabulary items that I chose from this reading passage that I feel would help you very much in understanding the passage and probably using these words in your composition. You have foreign language. I'm just going to read them briefly, and then you are supposed to go and look for the definitions yourself. If you want to use a translation method where you translate every word, that's your choice. Foreign language, Creole, cab driver, bargain. Let me just make a tick on them so you could follow. So, foreign language, Creole, cab driver, bargain, experts, telephone booth, proficiency, conjugate, technique, immersion, emphasize, individual, expensive, and private tutoring. One more time. Foreign language. Creole. Creole. Cab driver. Cab driver. Bargain. Bargain. Experts. Experts. Telephone booth. Telephone booth. Proficiency. Proficiency. Conjugate. Conjugate. Technique. Technique. Immersion. Immersion. Emphasize. Emphasize. Individual. Individual. Expensive. Expensive. Private tutoring. Private tutoring. Let's go to the next page. We still have a smaller set. Criterion. Criterion. Advantages. Advantages. Dialogue. Dialogue. Likely. Likely. Opportunity. Opportunity. Participate. Participate. And finally, conversation. 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 Right. These are very important vocabulary items that I would like you to consider and memorize and know very well. And eventually to use in your composition where needed. Now, this is your task. You are supposed to respond to the following. Give 4 reasons why you want to learn English. Give 4 reasons why you want to learn English. I want you to begin your answer like this. I want to learn English because, and then continue your answer, but give me 4 reasons. 4 reasons. Right. Now, once you've wrote and responded to this task, I want you to post your answer on the course forum. Okay? This is where you should place your answer. Okay? On the course forum. Don't send it by email. Do not send the response to this task by email. Do not send it by email. Post your answer on the course forum. Okay? I already posted the task in the forum. All you have to do is respond to that. I hope this is clear. We will stop here for now. Now move on to the next lecture. See you there. Thank you.